Okay, class, today we're going to talk about bar and circle graphs. And here our lesson objective is we're going to solve problems using data represented in bar graphs and circle graphs, including part to whole and part to part comparisons and equivalence. Okay, and you see here, here I put the part over whole equals percent over 100 because that is the percent proportion. Remember, part, whole, percent over 100. 100 always is under the percent. Okay. Now we have two graphs. The two graphs we're talking about today, of course, are the bar graph and the circle graph. So here I've given you a brief description of those two graphs. And what I'll do here, I'll go ahead and pause so that you'll have time to write those down. Go ahead and start writing. Bar graph is a display graph bar graphs display data so that it can be easily understood. It shows comparisons among categories. So anytime you have categorical information, you can always use a bar graph to represent that. And bar graphs are usually have rectangles in their bars. Okay, circle graphs are used to visualize information and data, usually used to easily show the results in a proportional manner. Circle graphs are easy to look at whenever you have, it's like they're also called the pie chart as well. When you look at a graph, you can pretty much tell, a circle graph, you can pretty much tell what the big chunk of the pie, where it goes to. Okay, circle graphs are pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and pause here and let you finish writing the definitions. I'll give you about 1 minute. Okay, here we go here. Now we're going to solve problems involving bar graphs. Okay, so we have an example here. See, we have our bar graph, and our example says a school held a fundraiser for their recycling program. 3 teams, baseball, soccer, and volleyball. So let's go ahead and I'm going to highlight that, and volleyball. And then there's 3 clubs. There's the science club, math club, and ecology. Collected money. The results of the fundraiser are shown in the bar graph right here. Okay, which is greater, the percent of money collected by the teams by the baseball, or the percent of money collected by the clubs by the science club? Okay, so now, of course, we have a comparison here. We got to figure out how much each one of these are by looking at our bar graph here. And I always tell you, anytime you look at a graph, no matter what it is, always look at the title, what's along the x-axis, and what's along the y-axis. Okay, so along the x-axis here we have the different clubs and the teams, and along the y-axis we have the amount of money that they raised. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each one of those and we're going to put that amount under it. So for baseball is approximately, I would say, I would give that 100. Okay, the ecology club, I would say roughly 150. Soccer, I would give it about 170. The science club, of course, that's 120. Volleyball, I would give, that would be 80. And the math club, that'll be about 140. Okay, so we have our amounts for our clubs and our teams. So what I'm going to do here, I highlighted my teams up here in green. I'm going to do the same thing down here, so I'll know when I get to categorizing them, I'll know which one belongs where. So I have baseball, soccer, and volleyball that are going to be green. And then I have ecology club, the science club, and of course the mighty math club. Okay, so now it's going to be very important why I highlighted those in just a second. So now we're trying to figure out which is greater, the percent of money collected by the teams, by the baseball team. So the percent of money collected from baseball, soccer, and volleyball, those put together, or by the clubs, the ecology, the science, or the math club. So now what we need to do here we need to total up those clubs together. So we'll total the ones by the science club. So we're going to, we'll do the clubs first: science, math, and ecology. So we're going to add those up, and they're going to be equal to 410. So, well, first let me do my part to hold my comparison here. So what I would do here, set my proportion up. I know I'm looking for my percent, okay? And I know that always, 100 always goes under, I'm gonna make that a percent, okay? We know it's X, I put X, but we know we're looking for the percent here. Okay, so we said that our clubs added together was 410. And I got that 410 by adding 150, 120, and 140. Okay, so if I add, let me go ahead and do this right here to show you how I got that 410. I added the 150 plus the 120 plus the 140. So that's how I got the 410. Okay, and this has to do with the clubs. Okay, now I'm particularly talking about the science. I want to know what percent. Okay, so with science, we said the science was 120. So I'm going to put that 120 here. Okay, because we're trying to figure out the percent from the clubs. Okay, so all I do now is solve like I would a proportion. I would do 120 times 100, and I would divide it by 410, and I would get approximately 29%. Okay, so now I'm going to do from the teams. I'm going to use that same concept here. We're looking for the percent, and that it's always under 100 here, over 100 there. And for the teams, what I'm going to do is when I added those up, I got 350. Okay, and I'm going to note here how I got the 350. So all I added was 100, 170, and 80. I'm going to put that here. 100 plus 170 plus 80. That's how I got the 350. Okay. Now I'm particularly talking about baseball, and baseball is 100. So I'm going to put 100 here. Okay. Now I just pretty much cross multiply and divide. I get about 28%. Okay. So now we want to know which is greater. So since the baseball team collected less than 28% of the team's total, and the science club collected about more than 29% of the club's total, the percent collected by the science club is greater. Okay, so we're going to write that here. We're going to say, and you can write it in any kind of way you want to, baseball team collected less than 28% of the team's total. And the science club collected more than 29% of the club's total. So the percent collected by the Science Club is greater. Okay, so that's the bar graphs. So now you see how the part to whole concept comes in. It's nothing new that we're doing here. You've done part to whole. We did percent proportions, tax tip, discount. We did all that before. It's just now doing it with data, okay, and looking at a bar graph. Okay, so that is solving problems involving bar graphs. So now we're going to move on to the circle graphs, or you can call them the pie charts. And we'll put that down here, pie charts. Pie chart. Either way. Okay. So now here we have our circle graph here. And if you see here, I always tell you to look at the whatever the title of the graph is, and look what you have here. Now I can look and see that the majority here is cell phones. Whatever we're talking about here, majority is cell phones, and I see that the least is TVs. Just by looking at the piece of the pie. That's what circle graphs are. Circle graphs give you can look at it real quick and see which one has the most, which one has the least. Okay, so now let's see what we're working with here. So now it says during 1 month there were 2,000 people who used advertising links on the website. So here, 2,000 people. That 2,000 people, I'm guessing, is going to be our whole. Okay. The percent of people who clicked on each advertising link is shown in the circle graph. Calculate the number of people who clicked on the link for each type of advertisement. So now I'm going to have to set up a proportion for each and every one of these. So I'm going to have to set up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 proportions. Now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go through, I'll set up one, and then to show you what I'm looking for. And then I want you to set up the other. So we know that we're calculating the number of people who clicked on the link. So if it's giving us the percent, we know that we're looking for the part. It gives us the whole, which is the 2,000 people. So we're looking for the part is what's missing. So I'm going to do TV since it's the smallest one. It's at 3%. So I'm going to title my first proportion. Hold on 1 second. Let me get it on to not be blurry. Okay, as TVs. Okay, and I know that my whole, sorry you guys, let it focus here, is 2,000. And I have my percent, which is 3%. Okay, and it's always over 100. So that's what we're looking for there. Okay, so now I want you to go through with your partner, and I just want you to title, and I want you to set it up. You just set up the proportion. Okay, I'm gonna pause here, and I'll give you a chance to set it up with your partner. Okay, so your proportions should look like this. Here's your music. So every one of them should have 2,000 in the whole position there. Okay, and an X in the part. You're given the percent and you're looking for the part. Okay, so now two things should happen here. So my percents are always out of 100. So if I add up all my percents, I should get 100. Okay, second thing here is when I find my part, each one of my parts should add up to whatever my whole is. So if I add up all my parts when I'm done finding them, they should equal to 2,000. Okay, so remember that percents are always out of 100. So always, if you check yourself, add up your percents and see if they're 100%. Okay, so anytime you have a circle graph, your percents will always add up to 100 because the percent is always out of 100. And then 2, if you add up whatever your parts are when you get them, that's equal to whatever the whole is. Okay, so now if you do, and you're just like solving a regular proportion, you would cross multiply here and then divide by 100. And it's easy. When we did this before, when you're looking for the part is the easiest thing to do, because whenever I find out what 2,000 times 3 is, which is 6,000, all I have to do is divide by 100. I move it over 2 decimal places. So my answer is 60. Okay. So, and we're calculating the number of people who clicked on that link. So 60 people clicked on that link for TVs. That 3% represents 60 people. Okay. So now what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and figure out what music is, computers, cell phones, and movies are with your partner. I'll pause here and while you calculate that. Okay. So when you added those, whenever you calculated that, for music, you should have gotten 500 people. That 25% represents 500. So that it's 25% of 2,000. So of those 2,000 people, 500. For computer, you have 460 people that clicked on it. Cell phones was 440. And movies was 340. Okay. So now remember, I told you, if you add up all those, they should equal to that whole. So here, I showed you, when you take those that you just calculated and add them up, you get 2,000, so your answer checks out. Okay? So we just went over circle graphs and bar graphs.